People don't like you very much, do they? Sent here to the living lands by an emperor who couldn't bother to come himself.
Avowed is the new fantasy RPG from Obsidian. It is set in the world of Eora, which was previously established in the Pillars of Eternity games, although this time I'm really excited for players to get a little bit more immersed into Eora because it's a first-person experience as opposed to sort of that isometric three-quarter view. And while we do have a third-person view for folks who can't enjoy first-person, I love the first-person view. And one of the things that just stands out to me is because it's first-person and it's not sort of that isometric view, you actually get to see the sky in Eora for the first time, and it is so cool. We've got some great skyboxes, and you get to see the moon. It's really quite something.
So with that first-person view, I mean, do you think that there's a level of immersiveness that's not shown with other ways of visually imagining a game?
I think so. I think that there's a real opportunity for you to get into that sort of look at exactly what the camera is showing, where instead of it's sort of showing a removed over the shoulder kind of top down three-quarter view where you're mostly looking at the ground and where you're going next. There's a really great moment early on in Avowed, in the first major region in Dawnshore. There's a great big lighthouse, and like any good lighthouse, upstairs you can see for miles. And so I took a look at the lighthouse and I noticed some sort of platforms there. So I started climbing up the platforms, and sure enough, you can get to the top of the lighthouse in Dawnshore. And you can hear the waves are lapping below, and there's a seagull that kind of flies by in front of your face. And the music just sort of kicked up into the full beans mix, if you will. And I was just looking out over the expanse of Dawnshore, and you just get this sense of adventure and saying, you know what, I'm gonna go over there. It's not quite like the full open world style where you point to the top of the mountain and say, yeah, I'm gonna billy goat my way up to that. But you get a sense of the grand scope of adventure and saying, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna pick up some friends along the way and we're gonna have some adventures. And I think that is made slightly more possible by being in that first-person view, and then all of the rest of the audio-visual coming together to really just create that sense of place. And it's astounding how real-world it feels. The role of production director in comparison to, say, a game director. So if you think of a game director as being the what and the why, then production director is the how and the when of that. So I partner with our game director, Carrie Patel, and she calls the shots, and then I work with the other directors and producers and leads to try to figure out, okay, so how are we going to accomplish that? And how are we going to, as I was saying previously, make the right thing at the right time at the right quality bar that sort of aligns with Carrie's vision. But along the way, and this is a tremendous opportunity at Obsidian. Along the way, it's a little bit more practically just about greasing the wheels of production. And how do we make sure that people are talking, that we're all pointing in the same direction, and then get out of people's way so that they can actually accomplish the work.
Yep. I guess one of the key things is having those kind of key delivery milestones and things like that along the way. What are some of your techniques and tips for working with particularly a large team like at Obsidian for getting them to come together and make sure that things are at the quality you want at the time you want along that production process?
Fantastic question. And this ultimately has to come back to just sort of production fundamentals. I have... I don't know if I should reveal this. I have a question that I ask of any producers in job interviews, and that is, what are the top 3 rituals or artifacts that you need to have in order to have confidence in a team's ability to execute and deliver. And my top 3 are a high-level roadmap to show, okay, where is the direction that we are going? And like you say, like what are the broad milestones that we need to accomplish? Then along the way, there's burn-down charts to show how do we make sure that we're making the appropriate amount of progress on sort of sub-milestones or releases or sprints that then ladder up to that broader milestone. And then from there, a risk register. What predictable surprises are going to jump out of the bushes and yell booga booga at us? And how do we get ahead of those so that they don't actually happen? And it's funny because I hold that near and dear in my heart. But when I first got to Avowed, I didn't set those up right away. I was more just sort of running around and trying to figure out, okay, who are all these new people? What's this new company? How are decisions made and communicated throughout the social organization? And it's just such a really good lesson to take it back to fundamentals. Always just go straight back to fundamentals and set up that North Star to say, like, here are the milestones that we need to accomplish in this amount of time. And then we can start to break that down into more accomplishable bites and say, okay, so this is a subset of those milestones. We have to accomplish these things. How are we going to do that? Hey, well, we have a couple of sprints that fall into this release. And if we have 2 sprints in a release, we need to get half the things done here, and we need to get half the things done here, and just sort of breaking it down until you get to the day-to-day, and then you can start to see whether that's accomplishable in the time that you have. So this is Adventures in Physics. So we've got a Sportling here who gets hit with a particularly charged attack, and well, that poor guy is having a bad day. And this is the confluence of so many different departments. You might think that this is perhaps solely animation, but this is character art and tech art and skinning and rigging, a little bit of animation, and it's just trying to get those all working together in Confluence is sometimes difficult. And here we have a glimpse at underwater effects that are being applied to sort of what I would call the overlands. You are above ground on this one, and there is no water in sight, but the underwater effects are still being played. And this one's my favorite. The tremendous power that mouse has to open the door. So clearly we were copying and pasting onto this little critter, and they somehow gained the ability to open doors. Well, maybe they shouldn't have in the first place.